Welcome to That's Canon, the podcast talking about the Canon film series and other similar movies. This is episode 68, and I'm Phil.
And I'm Greg.
And Greg, we went over the top today.
Oh my God, you said it again. As if the number of times they said the title of this movie in this movie weren't enough.
Over the top. Yeah,
you know,
usually I am one of those nerds where I love to hear them say the name of the title in the movie. Right? Like, I think most people enjoy that.
It's always fun. It's a nice little fourth wall break when you hear the title of the movie come out of the character's mouth.
Exactly. But I think they went a little over the top on this one because they do say it quite a bit.
Oh my God. So like, well, I will get too ahead of myself, but like they say it so much in this movie that I kept thinking, like, wouldn't it be funny if they said the title of movies in movies where it's like, it would be really weird. And I tried to think of the funniest example I could. And what I came up with was, imagine if in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker kept saying Star Wars.
He's like
when he's shooting stormtroopers, Star Wars.
He's in the Millennium Falcon gunner seat, and he's like, he's looking
Han
up
Solo's
at
like,
Han.
Star Wars, kid.
He's like, this really is some Star Wars, huh, kid? And then Luke looks up, and he's like, I'm the new hope for this ship.
I'm the Star Wars now, old man.
On the ice planet Hoth, there's like two rebel troopers looking at each other, and they're like, man, the Star Wars is pretty bad. And the other guy's like, yeah, I think the Empire's about to strike back.
Oh, these Star Wars sure are intense. Oh my God.
Emperor Palpatine is like, it is the return of the Jedi.
The return of the Jedi. Star Wars.
I think that's the only one that could make sense for them to say. In the movie, it would be for like Palpatine to be like, there is no return of the Jedi. And then he'd be like, oh shit, yeah, I get
it's
that.
It's going down now. God, it's like Pokemon saying their name. Pokemon, like fucking Squirtle.
Squirtle,
like imagine
Squirtle.
if movie characters did that more often. Like, Star Wars.
It would be
Luke
insane.
Skywalker, Star Wars.
Insane. Well, how could they say
oh my God.
I'm just trying to think now of other movies. Like, there's certain movies that you get away with,
like The Matrix,
like
right?
The Matrix, Men in Black, Ghostbusters.
It's like the title of the movie is itself a proper noun in the movie, like The Matrix or Ghostbusters, or it's an organization or a thing. But like, that's why it's funny for Star Wars. Like, Star Wars is more of a description of the plot line. I don't know, just the mental image of Luke Skywalker running around the Death Star, firing the blaster, yelling "Star Wars."
Star Wars.
So this is where my head was at while I was watching Over the Top, because I was kind of not paying attention to the movie in certain parts. I was just chuckling to myself at the idea of Luke Skywalker running around saying Star Wars over and over.
Well, fortunately, Greg, Over the Top is such a very simple, stripped down story that you don't really need to provide 100% of your attention in order to get it.
And you get the whole picture, because I was thinking that exact same thing. This plot feels almost like a 1 hour TV special that was sort of stretched out to feature length.
Menachem Golem, he got, the story for Over the Top written, and then he cast Sylvester Stallone, and he's like, we can pad out 30 minutes of just watching him drive a truck.
Looking longingly into the sunset over those desert vistas.
But I mean, the movie is directed by Menachem Golem.
Yeah.
I think this is one of his last, or close to his last films with that's
Canon.
With I almost said that's canon with Canon. I think he has two more after this: Hannah's War and Mac the Knife. But this is definitely his last big film that he ever directed.
Big one, yeah.
And it's also, sadly, the last Stallone film that we have.
Oh, gee whiz.
I mean, I will say this. I am still a fan of Cobra, and I am still a fan of this movie. And
I think I like of those two. I think I like this one better than
I can totally
Cobra.
see that. I can
Yeah,
totally see that. This film is a little more lighthearted and
yeah,
fun, right?
yeah. It's not too complicated. It's not overly dramatic. Well, I guess it's overly dramatic, but like in like a very surface level way. I don't know. I think you described it really well when you said like it's this is very like it's a surface level plot. You don't really need to pay all that much attention to, but still kind of like understand what's happening and enjoy it. I mean,
Exactly.
like this is the era of the Karate Kids, right? Like
Yep.
this had to have been a Karate Kid ripoff, I assume.
Yeah, like Sylvester Stallone reunites with his estranged child and they travel across the country, maybe a state, uh, arm
Texas.
wrestling people.
Yeah,
Like,
but
there's lessons to be learned on the road.
yep, kid's bonding with his dad, overcomes an evil psychotic kidnapping grandpa, and scary guys named Smasher. Like
Robert Loggia.
Robert Loggia of Independence Day fame is probably people our generation would know him from.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And this was, I mean, Cobra and Over the Top was the beginning of Stallone's ending for a bit. Because this movie, I know we usually talk about this at the end, bombed. And so did Cobra.
Yeah, because like this is the when did he make Dread? Was that early '90s?
That was early 90s. That was 1995. So Stallone, he started tanking his career, and then he did Rambo 3, which sucked. Tango and Cash is amazing, but it didn't do that well. And then he
Mm-hmm.
did movies like Rocky 5, Oscar, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot,
Stop or yeah.
Cliffhanger. And then Demolition Man came out, and there was a little resurgence in his career. And then he did Judge Dredd. And he didn't really come back or recover, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, until the mid 2000s, 2006, when he did Rocky Balboa. And then everyone was like, "Oh yeah, this guy he can still make movies."
He's still bankable basically.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Demolition Man is awesome.
Demolition Man is super fun, but after that, he kind of, again, I think he started
Kind of
getting
slumping a little
too
bit.
big for his head again, and he did shit like The Specialist, and it just wasn't. He wasn't picking the right movies. He did that movie Daylight. I think we've talked about this, where he's stuck in a tunnel and he has to get out of it because it's about to flood.
Did we talk about that? I don't remember that.
I think so.
Daylight, okay. But like I think you're right. Like he gets to Sylvester Stallone I feel like works really well in movies like Demolition Man or even Over the Top, I would say like kind of like quirky like really specific genre things like an arm wrestling movie or sci-fi. I think he works really well in movies like Demolition Man and Judge Dredd, like
Oh,
kind of
definitely.
like campy sci-fi plots, but movies like Over the Top I think also lend themselves well cuz like you're not it's not like super dramatic or like character study-ish. It's just a simple fun plot.
And I think Over the Top was at the time where he was weaning off of steroids because he kind of looked more normal. Again, he tips the scale and he goes right back to it.
Mm,
But I think definitely had like a more natural, I'm a real person look in this film than he
yeah.
did for most of the 80s.
I actually had that same thought because he definitely looks by comparison to some of the other arm wrestlers in this movie, he looks a lot less of like a meathead. Like some of the guys in this movie are just tanks of human beings.
I
So
can't believe some of the sizes of these people.
So like Phil, we know each other in real life. I'm a tiny guy. Like I'm 5'7" on a good day. Like 130 pounds soaking wet. Compared to these guys, I am like a piece of tissue paper. I cannot imagine doing an arm wrestling match with some of these guys. I'm pretty sure I would just snap like a twig.
It
So the fact that
I
Sylvester
would
Stallone matches up at all is kind of impressive.
I would love to see what's the bull, just to be able to, he could probably, because this guy, the main bad guy in the film, is so giant, he could probably if you were wearing like overalls, he could pick you up like the Terminator and just hold you there.
And just and just javelin me through a concrete wall.
These people are insanely proportioned.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. Let's talk about
Yeah.
this meathead and sometimes touching film. People get touched in more than one way. The movie opens up with Stallone. He's driving he's a big rig trucker. So if you've ever played games like Euro Truck Driver Simulator, you kind of get the life that he's living. And he's wasting a lot of fucking time sprucing up his truck while his estranged child, who's in a military school, is doing like a parade of sorts, a graduation parade, right?
Yeah, I assume it's like this kid looks like he's probably in like 5th grade, so I'm thinking, okay, he's in like some kind of military academy. It's some kind of end of the year graduation or something.
Exactly. The kid, his character name is Michael. He's played by David Mendenhall. I got to tell you, I don't know what this guy has done since this, but he is still acting to this day.
Really?
Yeah. So
he's not the best little kid actor that we've seen.
I don't know if that has to deal with the dialogue that he's given. Some of the shit that he says is kind of wonky.
Yeah, especially in these beginning scenes where he's still like, he hasn't loosened up yet because he hasn't been on the road with his dad yet. So he's still kind of like got this weird regimented, like, you know, like straight-laced, smart nerd kid thing going on. It's hard to describe, but yeah, some of the things he says, he sounds like a robot.
Yeah, exactly. As the kids are dismissed, you can tell that the child is a little upset because there's no one there to see him graduate.
Yeah.
So Michael gets a little pouty. But
I wish I had a dad.
Exactly. But his wish comes true, and Dad pulls up in his big rig to take Michael away to go visit his mom in the hospital, who's waiting for surgery of an unknown ailment. We just know that it's heart surgery. Which I thought was, I mean, that's like a good plot device to get these two together.
Yeah, I like that aspect of it where it's like she's clearly dying of something. Yeah, you don't know what, but it's like you can definitely tell that it's like her dying wish, that because apparently he's been estranged for like 10 years. We don't get a lot of the backstory on the relationship, but she's trying to bring him and his son together to sort of like have to build a bond so that when she's gone, spoilers, that they have like he's got like the kid has someone.
Massive spoilers.
I mean, she could survive.
Yeah. As Stallone enters like the school, obviously Michael doesn't really trust Stallone because he's never seen him before. And the commander of the school is essentially like, shut up, Michael, go with your dad. It's your mom's, wish for you to do this. And they set forth on the hawk hauling rig. And that's where we start getting this. We start seeing the father-son bond. And I think Stallone does a really earnest job of being a father in this film. Especially being like an estranged father.
Interesting. I don't know, like I definitely felt like a lot of some of these early scenes where he's trying to like, so we should establish up front, like this kid wants nothing to do with him right now.
Oh yeah.
Because he's been living with his grandfather, who I assume is the one who put him in this military school. His grandfather's some senator or something, so they're super rich, and I get he just like got an earful about how his real dad, Sylvester Stallone, is some deadbeat trucker who's dealing drugs and all this other garbage. So the kid wants like nothing to do with him. He says some really savage shit like, you think 10 years can make up for 2 or 3 days of trucker time? Like, this kid hates this guy right now. So Sylvester Stallone is like trying, very earnestly to build a relationship with the kid. And I don't know, like to me, it felt like he was like really awkward with the kid, but I don't know, now that you say this, maybe that was like an intentional, like the character was behaving awkwardly and it's not just bad acting.
You hope that it's like what he intentionally meant to do. Because I can kind of see it where he's never spent time with a kid, so he doesn't really know how to interact with one. He's talking to the kid at times as an adult, but he's also
Hmm.
trying to be a dad. And then he also realizes that he can't make up for all that time lost within a certain amount of, days.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
I don't know. I thought Stallone does a really great job with getting so little, I guess meat
Substance.
on his plate.
Yeah, yeah. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think maybe it was intentional. He's trying to find his footing for how to interact with this kid who he's basically meeting for the first time. It sounds like
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
I'm also
I'll give it to him.
I'm an over the top apologist and I'm a Stallone apologist because this is nostalgia for me. It's nostalgia. Like I shit this stuff out. Um but yeah,
the doctor's like, I need a stool sample, and it's just like Sylvester Stallone's head
yeah,
in a
just put on
cup.
over the top doc. I'll squeeze one out.
Ooh.
Uh Michael notices in the big rig that he has a bunch of pictures of him. And just from his family. And like you said, Michael wants nothing to do with Stallone. As they start driving down the road, he does this whole like pull over, I think I'm gonna be sick. And then Michael beelines it across like a major highway, almost getting
Yeah.
killed.
Like this started a really entertaining for me game for this movie, which is like count how many scenes, not necessarily count, but like spot the scenes where this kid should have been fucking dead meat. And this is like the first and probably best example. Like, he books it. He's like trying to run away. He's trying to like escape from his dad. And he like books it across a 4-lane highway. And these cars are like flipping over the median and like screeching their tires and spinning out, trying to not hit this stupid kid. Like, if this were like the director's cut, he would have like been hit by a cement truck and like exploded like that guy in RoboCop. It's
Yeah.
like he's so lucky to not be dead.
It's really weird that they thought that the scene would work. And there's like a lot of destruction of other cars,
Yeah.
but there's no comeuppance, there's no issue. It's just kind of like, oh, my kid almost died. It don't matter.
Sorry, yeah, just like you just hear some people yelling, "All right, goddamn kid, get out of the road," and that's kind of it. Sly isn't really like pissed at all at him all that much.
No, in fact, if anything, he seems more sympathetic towards them. But then we cut to Robert Loggia, who goes to the military school, and he gets pissed when he realizes that Sylvester Stallone took the kid. And I think Robert Loggia does a pretty decent job here of being the villain. It's one note, so you can't really blame him for not having any other motions than being angry Robert Loggia. But he does a really good job doing it.
Yeah, he's basically like, he's not necessarily like a bad guy. He does bad shit, but he's also like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. He does all this shady shit to try and get his grandson back out of the hands of Sylvester Stallone. But he's also kind of like this like evil rich guy archetype too. So yeah, he's just kind of like a one-note bad guy for an 80s movie.
I'll say this though, I get both people's plight in this. I get Sylvester Stallone wanting to make up time with his kid, but I also get Robert Loggia going, "You're a bum that left your family behind. I don't want you doing anything with this kid."
Yeah, what kind of life can you give him? I've given him a great life. I don't want him to learn from you, basically. Yeah, he's not really
bum who's going to die from cholesterol poisoning.
What the hell is cholesterol poisoning?
I don't know. Is that a thing?
I don't think so. We've got cholesterol in our bodies all the time. How can it poison us?
What we're referring to is when we get back to Stallone and Michael in the truck and they're having a conversation about wanting to get something to eat. Stallone is like, they make good steak and eggs at this diner down the street. And Michael goes, "You're going to be a victim of cholesterol poisoning and have a heart attack."
I mean, like, high cholesterol, sure, or...
I think maybe that's what he's getting at. Like, you just have high cholesterol. But, I mean, Stallone, look at him. I highly doubt he has high cholesterol. He is actively exercising. He has muscles on his muscles.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's, like, super jacked in this movie, and he's probably, like, 0% body fat.
I don't know.
Is this kid seeing the same person we are?
It's kind of interesting. He gets chastised, and Stallone kind of rolls it off his back and kind of, takes the punches because he was wanting to build the bond with his kid. And eventually they get to the diner where they order, like, tuna on rye. or something.
Phil,
And, like,
you say diner, like this is like a filthy, nasty biker bar that
oh
he's bringing
yeah,
his kid to.
it's amazing. What a great like 80s aesthetic and setting.
Oh
It
yeah,
has
it's
like the
awesome.
amazing wood paneling. It looks like you're, at least for me, it would look like my uncle's living room in the 90s. Just wood paneling,
As
like
far as I can
shag
see.
carpet, really, like drapey drapes, and it
Oh
just
yeah.
looks smoky.
Yeah, it's got that like cigarette smoke haze, those really low lights over pool tables. Like it's a great aesthetic, but it's 100% not someplace you would want to bring a kid to in the middle of
No,
the day. I mean, it's a pretty rowdy place.
it's not. And it's just funny. As they sit down and they're about to eat, Stallone gets accosted by a man in a mullet. And I think this is where your quote of the week comes in, right?
It is, yeah. So we get introduced to one of the many like great self-nicknamed people in this movie. His name is the Smasher, and he introduces himself as the Smasher. So my quote of the week is this whole like interaction of the Smasher and this guy, this like crony in the background telling, "Yeah, you tell him, Smasher." So we'll play it right here.
Well, we can go to McDonald's.
You Hawk?
And if you're
I
hungry,
said, are you Hawk?
what can I do for you?
I'm the Smasher.
It's a nice name.
And all I've been hearing on the road lately is this Hawk is a man to beat.
I can't believe everything you hear.
I don't believe anything. I got 1,000 that says I could tear your arm off. You want it?
Yeah. Go on.
He's trying to back out. I said, you want it?
Why not?
All right, let's get this table ready. Let's go. Come on, I want to show this guy something. Come on, break his arm off.
And
It's a perfect like goon alpha beta relationship that they have here, where
yeah.
Smasher's obviously some meathead fuck up, and his bitch boy is like a twig.
Smasher. You get him good, Smasher.
Exactly.
Little weasel guy jumping around behind him. Like it's like that's another like it's like such an 80s thing. I feel like 80s
Oh,
these 80s
definitely.
movies always like the main bad guy always has a posse of sort of like hangers on, and they always say the weirdest shit. Like remember that guy in Karate Kid in the background of the tournament? He's like, put him in a body bag.
Yep,
Like
exactly.
it's that exact same vibe. I love it.
It's so great. So Stallone, he gets confronted to do an arm wrestling match. As they leave to do the arm wrestling match, from out of the shadows of the shitter, I'm assuming, steps forth Bull, and he's just looking ominously
And he's
at
so
Stallone.
sweaty.
He's so sweaty. This
He's
movie is like next to Top Gun. This movie is the next sweatiest movie in the 80s.
The next 20s. Like, he probably did come from the shitter because this guy is like, looks like he just got done running a marathon. He's like just soaked in sweat.
Oh, yeah.
The
Or
smell
probably just
alone.
standing up, because this man is huge. Probably takes a lot of energy for him to stand up.
Yeah, like we were talking about the size of the guys in this movie. This guy is by far the biggest. He's probably like 6'5", like 300 bajillion pounds of fat and muscle and body hair and sweat.
Greg, Rick Zumwalt was 6'4".
Oh,
You were
nailed
so
it.
fucking close.
Nailed it.
That's insane. As Stallone gets prepared to do the arm wrestling match, this is, I think, the only part, and it only happens for 10 seconds. I think it's the cheesiest part of the entire film. As he's walking towards the Smasher to arm wrestle, he's obviously psyching himself up, and Stallone's shirt is drenched with sweat, and he starts getting these like bug eyes, kind of like like I'm about to shit myself, so I have to walk like really tensely, and he's like clenching his butt cheeks.
Yeah.
It looks so hokey.
Yeah, it's you can tell that they were like the direction was like try to like look really intense, like look like your adrenaline levels are rising and you're psyching yourself up. But it just comes off looking like he's like about to shit his pants and he's
Yeah.
oh shit, I need to penguin walk to the bathroom.
It's weird. As the Smasher and Stallone lock hands, they engage in combat, arm wrestling combat, and there's really no way to describe the action other than their arms go back and forth, and their muscles are very impressive, right?
It's like if remember that one little like that quick shot in The Predator that's like super famous now where I don't remember the characters' names, but Arnold and Carl Weathers like lock biceps, and they almost do a little bit of an arm wrestle there in that shot, but like it's these two like giant biceps, and they're super sweaty too. It's the most 80s thing ever. That's like this whole scene.
Dutch and Dylan, you forgot their names.
I know.
Dylan, you son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch. Smack.
We're gonna play that quote right here.
Fucking awesome. Let's just watch Predator.
Exactly. I mean, they're both 80s classics.
Yeah.
But Stallone, he wins like $1,000. Everyone's really impressed. And then Stallone talks to his arch rival, the Bull, and he's goading him on. He's like, "Hey, let's arm wrestle." And Stallone's like, "Wait for Vegas." Because there's a big arm wrestling match that's gonna happen in Las Vegas. That's the whole crux of the movie we're starting to learn. Because this movie does follow like movie setup rules.
Yeah, exactly.
It hints at what the climax is ultimately going to be.
Yep, foreshadows the final battle. I mean, so it's interesting to me. Like, I might be getting ahead of myself here, but it feels like the whole first half of this movie, for a movie about arm wrestling, there's really not a lot of arm wrestling in it. It's like this and one other scene we'll talk about in a bit, but like that's really it, and that's it for like 45 minutes.
Isn't that kind of crazy? It's like there's this father-son drama that has a spattering of arm wrestling in it.
Yeah, for the whole first half of the movie is it's like a Lifetime movie with a little bit of arm wrestling, and then it just like flips on its head about the halfway mark.
And
it's very strange.
I 100%, and I think that's why Jackie likes it so much, is that it tries to do the Rocky thing where, Rocky is about boxing, but if you watch Rocky, there's a boxing scene in the very beginning, and then there's a boxing scene at the very end, and everything in the middle is just the drama of Rocky and his life and trying to get the chance to fight Carl Weathers.
Yeah, exactly. So they definitely try to do the same thing here, and they fail, but they tried.
They fail in certain aspects, but succeed in so many others.
Here we go. There's Phil, the over-the-top apologist.
Exactly. Michael calls his mom. He's all mopey. He's like, "Oh, I don't like him. He arm wrestles." And
he takes me to biker bars.
Exactly.
Get secondhand smoke, Mom.
Stallone talks to his estranged wife, and she's like, "Just give it more time, blah, blah, blah." Yep. Meanwhile, Robert Loggia is conspiring in the background to figure out a way to abduct Michael from underneath the care of Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, he's like sending like goons, like mafia goons after him, like find that kid, do whatever it takes.
Exactly.
Super shady.
It's super weird. There's a touching moment in the movie where Stallone and Michael, they're gonna fall asleep in the truck, and Stallone's like, you can use my shoulder as a pillow. And then when he wakes up, like, Stallone is using his shoulder as a pillow, and it's kind of touching. And then there's a bonding experience the next day where they're exercising, but it kind of takes like a step back because, again, Michael just browbeats the shit out of Stallone, and he's like, "You're fucking stupid," and we're on two totally different social scales.
Like he's the kid says more savage shit like about genetics, like, "Dad, the average adult is on like a 20 is like only like 17 years old mental age, but truckers has got to be like 12."
Yeah.
If you maybe 15 if you got good genetics.
This kid is part of the eugenics war.
Yeah.
He's like mini Hitler here.
he's like little mini Khan. I was thinking that exact same thing. Like, what has Grandpa Loja been feeding this kid? Like reading some nasty eugenics shit from the turn of the century? Like, what was that line about genetics? Jesus.
I don't know. I think even at that age, there's no way I would have ever known or been able to like comprehend eugenics.
Yeah, right? Like any of that shit that he's spouting off. I mean, this kid's gonna be what's that like old timey thing that they used to do where they used to like measure parts of your head with like calipers?
Oh, geez, yeah, I remember that in Django Unchained. And
yeah, that weird quackery. Like that's that kid. That's what that kid sounds like now.
I still, when I was watching Django Unchained and they brought that up, I was kind of laughing. And Django was like, that was real. People used to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, the past is a scary place.
I think, hang on, I gotta look it up. It was something, because they spoofed it on The Simpsons too, where like Mr. Burns is like comparing Homer's head shape to something. He's
I
like,
remember that.
You've got the head size of a something, like... It's probably just some dark shit that was used to justify, like, racism, I'm sure. But, God, that's what this little kid sounds like. Phrenology. Yes.
Man, we're probably going to get back to that soon.
Oh, no.
Fucking we keep
canon,
going.
no.
Yeah, we'll stay out of politics. So... Here comes the next moment where the kid should probably die, if not mangle both of their bodies. Stallone, in an effort to bond with his child and kind of show how hard it is to do his job, he lets this 13-year-old kid drive his big rig.
Yeah, and Phil, are they wearing seatbelts?
Okay, actually, yeah. I guess I shouldn't be shocked, but I was shocked when the movie starts and they start driving. They never fucking buckled their seatbelts in this entire film.
Nope, they do not. God damn, this is the next scene where I was like, these people should be fucking dead. Like, the director's cut of this movie is the kid like being too weak to turn the wheels on this ancient semi, and he like veers into oncoming traffic and like plows through a station wagon full of kids, and they all fucking die because they don't have seatbelts on. Like,
exactly.
Jesus, movie.
But
safety.
There is obviously like a good swath of time where Michael is driving this big rig. At least that's what it alludes to, because he starts driving it and the scene kind of transitions to them at the next diner. And I'm guessing he drove the entire fucking time.
Yeah, like you'd think like it's something kind of cute to do, like you like teach a kid on like a back road or something where it's pretty harmless. I mean, there's no like trees or something or in a parking lot. Like it's okay to do that. He'll learn eventually anyway, but like having him actually drive on crowded streets in like, these are like narrow mountain passes with windy turns and stuff. Like, are you kidding me? This kid could kill someone.
Get the fuck out of here.
Did
you see what they were hauling though?
Wasn't it like some stupid cologne or something?
Brute. Do you remember Brute?
No. Should I?
Ah, man. So there was two things in the 90s. Brute, and before like the big,
the Axe body spray revolution.
Yeah, it was Old Spice in like the little bottle with the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, I thought as a kid, like Brute and Old Spice, when you become a man, that's all you use is Brute and Old Spice. Because I think for a time there, my dad would splash some Old Spice on his face.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he was a Brute man.
I think I had a little bottle of Brute at one point because
oh my gosh,
because as a kid you're growing up, you're like, okay, like I want to be like a man. Hey, oh.
Yeah.
So
is that your Sylvester Stallone voice?
Exactly.
Hey, I can so smell like Old Spice.
I don't know. They still sell it. I have this scent in my brain of what it smells like, and I wonder if it still matches.
I mean, they say a lot of shit about like odors being the most biggest sense tied to memory. So it wouldn't surprise me if you're probably pretty accurate in how you remember it.
It's only $7 a bottle, and so it's obviously not the highest class of cologne.
Oh
but
my gosh! So
yeah.
we're gonna do a special episode where or maybe we'll do a YouTube video where we have like you do like a blind smell test, and I'll get like Old Spice and Brute and some other like cheap colognes of comparable Aqua Velva, and just see if you can pick out the Brute.
It all
Like the Pepsi challenge.
It all smells like shit. Oh man, that'd be good. That'd be great. That's a good idea. So eventually Stallone and Michael, they pull up to another diner, and this time Michael gets accosted to do an arm wrestling match. And it's like a best of 2 out of 3, and there's, I don't know, like $20 on the table. And this guy, the guy who Michael is arm wrestling, has a beta soy boy with him.
He does have cronies, doesn't he?
Yeah, and they're like, you can get him, he's a wimp.
Yeah, get him, Butch. I assume his name is Butch. This kid looks like a Butch. He's got like a mullet, right?
Yeah, so many mullets in this movie. Absolutely so many. Why are mullets coming back?
I don't know. Goddamn Zoomers.
Fucking haircut. That is the world's worst haircut. But Stallone, he sets up Michael to do the arm wrestling match, and he loses. He loses pretty quickly. And Michael starts crying like a little kid, because as most kids are, they hate losing.
Yeah,
and Michael probably has never lost before in things, right? So he can't handle it.
Exactly. He's not emotionally equipped to, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Sylvester Stallone, like the dad, has a part in making this kid feel like shit too, because we should specify, like, this kid did not volunteer for this arm wrestling session. Like, he was like walking out the door of this diner, and Sylvester Stallone like walks back in and basically like confronts the little mullet kid. He's like, "Hey, I bet my son could beat you in arm wrestling."
Yeah.
He like signs the kid up for it against his will and pushes him into it.
And the kid that he's facing off is clearly older. Like, much older than Michael. So yeah, he loses, and then Stallone talks to Michael. He like pumps him up. He's like, they start using the phrase, "No one is ever going to meet you halfway. If you want to get something, you got to get it." Which I think that's like a kind of a good saying, especially something to teach kids, right? Like, life isn't fair, and if you want something, you got to go get it, because no one's ever going to give you anything in life. I think like that is a good lesson in the film.
And it's a good lesson for this kid, because he was growing up rich, like, who probably had a lot of stuff handed to him that he didn't have to go out and get go out and pursue with hard work. So yeah, I could get behind that.
Yeah, exactly. I just think it's kind of, as you put it, poorly executed, because Stallone instigated this entire kerfuffle, but Michael regroups, he goes back in, and he wins the next 2 rounds, and he gets the money. And then they immediately call Mom, which she's proud. I wonder how she would feel if she wasn't dying.
You did what?
But obviously, dying Mom isn't going to be like, "You stupid bastard, you shouldn't be doing that."
She'll take what she can get as far as bonding experience. Yeah.
She's enjoying hearing the stories of them bonding, and she's getting exactly what she wants out of it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We should specify this is where we start getting a lot of over the top phrase drops, because I think Sly says it to the kid like 3 or 4 times, like mid arm wrestle to this kid.
It's essentially like, once you get over the apex of, if you're like down in the arm wrestling match, if you get the guy slightly over the apex of center in your favor, then you're like guaranteed to win.
Okay.
But that doesn't make any sense, because the opponent has you over the apex.
And he comes back from it constantly in this movie.
Exactly.
Right? So, okay, I was wondering, I was going to ask you what you thought over the top meant. And see, that's an interesting theory. I didn't think about that. What I was thinking was, like, there's this thing that Sly does with his hand where he like repositions it and like curls his fingers over top of the other guy, and then he like uses that as leverage. I thought that's what like going over the top was. Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit of both. I don't know. That's a really good, like, my insight is based off of absolutely nothing. Your insight is based off of like
Careful scientific analysis of arm wrestling
a
technique.
visual cue of Stallone doing some kind of doodad with his hand, right?
Yeah, I think he does that a couple times. Maybe it's just the one time I saw him do it, but I don't know. I
Granted,
don't know.
he only arm wrestles like 3 times in this fucking movie. So
Yeah, that's true. As a percentage of total arm wrestling, he goes over the top in at least 75%.
in all of them. As Stallone is talking to the mom and Michael is celebrating winning, we see him abducted by some goons, and Stallone, there's like a really weak ass chase. Stallone gets the kid back, and the goons were sent by Robert Loggia, which Stallone immediately knows. And like the next scene is the goons in Robert Loggia's office going like, "We fucked up, boss."
Oh, jeez, boss. Shut up, shutting up.
Exactly. It's just kind of funny. Robert Loggia does have some really good Americanisms in this film where he's talking to his lawyer and he's essentially like, why can't we just lie and cheat to get the kid back?
Oh, yeah. He's like, we can find out. Surely there are ways to bend the law. That's what you guys are for.
Exactly. He's
You
like, I'm rich.
Crook lawyers. I'm rich as fuck.
I don't know. I just laughed. It was definitely on the nose for the time nowadays.
2022 vibes.
Exactly. Stallone and Michael, they're pulling into the city where the mom is at. I'm assuming this is like California or something. And they're getting prepared to see her, and they go to the hospital. Stallone goes up to the receptionist and is like, oh, where's my wife at? And things get a little tense.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
The nurse behind the counter is a little, like, looking a little nervous. She's like, I think you should talk to the doctor.
So let me tell you a story. I think I've told you this, but at one point when Jackie was in Georgetown, when she was admitted in Georgetown, I saw her one day in one room. And then I go back to the same room. She's not there, and the bed is fucking empty. I start freaking out. I'm talking to the nurse's station, and I'm like, where's my wife? Where is she? Like, I'm freaking out, and they're like, we don't know. Like, we have to get the doctor. And all I could think of was like, oh my gosh, she fucking died. And they're like,
Jesus Christ, dude.
They were like, oh, we transferred her over to the other wing. Like, she was like intensive care, and then she got downgraded, right? So things got better.
So it's like the opposite of what you were thinking. But
exactly.
Yeah, no one told you. Oh my God.
It's insane. It's insane.
I would be livid if something like that happened.
Even nowadays, hospitals, they're run essentially like they were in the 80s, from outside looking in.
It's like no one knows what the fuck is going on. Oh my God.
Things get really tense, and that's when Stallone is told that the wife died during heart surgery. We're not really sure how or why, and it doesn't really matter.
No.
But Michael overhears it, and he immediately gets
Freaks
upset.
the fuck out, yeah.
And then he blames Stallone. He was like, I would have been able to say goodbye to her if we weren't busy fucking around on the road, essentially.
And he's fucking right.
Yeah.
If we didn't spend all that time, like, arm wrestling idiots with mullets in random biker bars, like, if it was a matter of, like, 6 to 12 hours, like, they probably could have gotten there in time.
Exactly.
To say goodbye.
It is definitely a double-edged sword at this point, because the mom knew what she wanted, and I think she realized she wasn't going to survive.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think she thought of the other end of the blade, where the kid doesn't make it back in time to say goodbye.
Yeah, like from his perspective, like she's probably like made peace with it in her mind, but the kid like needs that closure. So like they should have stopped fucking around with the arm wrestling, like get there in time so that he can at least, like, she's going under intensive surgery. Survival rate is very expected to be really low. Like, we need to get you here before she goes under the knife, because she may not survive.
It's maybe she's dying. She's like, at least I don't have to deal with this.
At least I don't have to go to that stupid tournament at the end. Ugh.
Exactly. It's interesting. Michael immediately starts resenting all the time spent with his father and wants to live with Robert Loggia. There's a funeral scene that, Stallone attends, and then he confronts Robert Loggia at his palatial estate. And when I say visits him, Stallone crashes his fucking big rig through his fence into a, like, what is it, a
like
fountain.
a fancy fountain, yeah. Like he has this like standoff with the guards at the guard shack, and you think he's gonna back down, but no, he goes full stupid insane mode
Wait. He goes over the top.
Oh my god. I wish he'd go over the top of the steering wheel and fucking die so we don't have to watch the rest of this movie.
Isn't it insane though? The guard is like, I'm not gonna let you in, and then Stallone, his next logical thing is, I'm just gonna ram my truck right into your house.
Like, what was he expecting to happen? Like, worst case, he fucking dies. Like, that's like, it's a giant wrought iron fence. Like, he could have seriously been impaled. But like, even if he made it through and got his son back, like, he's kidnapping at this point. What did he think would happen? Like, they'd ride off into the sunset and everything would be okay?
You said at worst case he dies. I think the worst case is he survives and he goes to jail. The best case is that he dies.
That's the best case for us. I mean, yeah. What was he thinking?
It's always interesting in movies, kind of moments like this. Even when you think of like romantic movies, where the guy does like an over the top gesture in order to win back the love of someone.
Yeah, like a minorly irrational decision.
You're thinking, what the fuck? Like, John Cusack, you're on the lawn playing In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. Like, that's kind of insane. That's insane behavior.
Yes. But
right?
Like, that's it rides in some of those other movies where it sort of makes it's more palatable because it's on the line of something that's like a little crazy, but you could sort of see someone doing that, when they're really in love or they're really pissed off, and like emotions are high, they make a bad decision. But I don't know, something about this just goes over the top for me, and it's like it's way beyond the pale. Like,
it is.
Like, no wonder Robert Loggia doesn't want this kid around his father, because he's clearly an idiot who makes bad decisions.
He's a man-child.
Yeah.
It's the love of a father, though, and I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. I would crash my car into my father's house.
I was gonna say to get your son back.
To get my son back. And there's like a verbal confrontation where Stallone is like, Michael, come with me. Robert Loggia's like, you're a bum. Stallone is like, I wrote to you all the time. I don't know why you didn't get my letters. Robert Loggia is like, shut up and get out. There's like this scene, so Stallone does get arrested, and there's a scene with a lawyer where essentially like they draft up a contract of, you stay away from Michael and we won't send you to jail, essentially, right? Like,
yeah, he's like waiving his parental rights or something, like granting custody to Grandpa.
Which Stallone, he doesn't want to go to jail. He has to make it to the arm wrestling match, so he signs it, and he rolls into Vegas in the next scene, and he sells his truck for $6,000 so he can get the entrance fee for the over-the-top arm wrestling championship.
The World Championships.
World Championship.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Michael is rummaging through the house trying to find these phantom letters. I guess they don't really set up his motivation for the actions that he does.
Yeah. I eventually figured out that that's what he was doing when he started like picking up papers and like shuffling through them, that he was looking for the letters, because they mentioned it twice at this point throughout the movie.
And eventually he finds them, and he's like, oh my god, Daddy did love me.
Oh my god.
A little too late, fuckface.
He's not going to let that stop him.
Exactly. So what does he do? He steals Robert Loggia's truck and drives it to Las Vegas.
Oh my god. This, like, another marathon of insanely unsafe things that this kid should have died at any one of them. Like, first of all, when he finds the letters and he's like, he decides that he's going to go after his dad and meet him in Vegas, he takes this jump over a balcony in his grandpa's mansion, and he takes like a 20-foot drop onto concrete.
My fucking knees exploded this morning seeing that.
Seeing, right? Like both of this kid's legs should be like shattered like glass at this point. No, he takes it like a champ and sprints off through the bushes.
I was just like, to be a kid again.
To be able to take huge jumps from balconies and be able to just, brush it off.
It's fucking insane. This kid is, at that moment, that was like the only badass thing he did the entire movie.
Yeah. But I did
again, oh, go ahead.
They set up him driving. I did kind of like that. Like he was being taught to drive by his dad, and so that it's a little less like it's batshit insane for him to steal a car and like make his way to the airport.
100%.
I kind of like that.
Same here. There is a reason, because it's always kind of weird when a kid gets behind the car. Not that like driving a car, if a truck driver can do it, who has the mental capacity of like a 12-year-old, obviously.
He's got good genetics, Phil.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that it's like a hard task, but there is definite skill in driving, 100%.
Yeah.
So, Chekhov's truck was set up early enough.
Chekhov's truck. That almost sounds like it's meant to be like it's going to go off and kill someone.
You never know. I mean, some of those people probably fucking died in the beginning of this movie when they
did.
were all getting crashed into and shit.
This little idiot was running out into the highway.
Meanwhile, in Vegas, Stallone is just fucking crushing people arm wrestling. And there's a pretty sweet montage of people arm wrestling. And at one point, some dude's arm snaps. Did you see that?
Wait. Seriously? Did I miss that? Was I looking away when that happened?
Dude, it's probably like a 3-second thing. But in the movie, obviously not the one where Stallone is doing the arm wrestling, but like the B-roll where it's really people arm wrestling. So I don't know if you know this, but at the moment that the film was being made, they actually did make an over-the-top arm wrestling competition. So over the top in real life became a thing because of this movie. And there are people actually arm wrestling in this movie. Like all the B-roll that Stallone's not in.
Yeah, all the other matches going on in the background.
Exactly. So if you watch it, there is a blink and you miss it moment where some dude is arm wrestling and his fucking arm breaks.
Jesus, fuck. I was actually thinking about that. Like, remember when I mentioned earlier how I would snap like a twig doing this? Like that visual of me going up against the giant tank man and getting him like that's the uncomfortable image that I had in my head, like an arm snapping halfway through because like the bones just can't take it. That's deeply unsettling that like there was a little bit of that made it into the movie.
It's they do that in The Fly. Do you remember the David Cronenberg film The Fly?
Mm-hmm.
That part always fucking freaked me out.
Yeah, it really makes you uncomfortable.
If you want to see the guy's arm break, it's at the 1 hour, 1 minute, and 25 second mark. Yeah, his arm fucking broke. So great.
Gosh.
That guy, he's fucked. I don't know how you recover from that, especially if that's your only job.
Yeah, I'll say your arm wrestling days are over, bub.
Yeah.
Dang.
But this montage is kind of lengthy. And I will say one of the great things about this movie, and I say great, not ironically or in any sarcastic fucking manner, I love these fourth wall breaking moments where the actors in character are talking to the camera about arm wrestling.
I knew you were going to say
I fucking love that shit.
Oh my God. So I couldn't, like, I was laughing at those things, honestly. Like, it seems so out of, it seems so out of place for me. I was like, what are these like pre-match interviews? And I can appreciate them if only for the fact that like it makes you really, it makes it really, really clear that these guys are actual arm wrestlers.
Yeah.
Because the acting is bad. But it's clear like they probably just did real interviews with these guys. It's like, okay, like it's before a big match, what's your psych out approach, and like what's your strategy going in? Oh my gosh, I thought they were so corny.
I thought it brought so much, and I know this is really weird to say, I thought it brought so much realism to the film.
Oh, realism in my arm wrestling sports movie.
It's
I
it's
yeah, I guess you're
something.
right. I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's like it would be weird to me. I know we go back to Karate Kid again, but it would be weird to me if they went and interviewed Ralph Macchio, like, but like having him actually talk to the camera, like he's giving a real interview. I don't know. I feel like to make something like that work, what you would have needed to do was instead of having it be them talking to the camera, have the camera like shoot it on a TV,
Yeah,
like make it like it was like we the audience are seeing a news broadcast through a television set, and have it be done that way with like a little
Or-
like title card underneath.
you're like seeing them tape them, right? Like you're
Yeah,
watching them do it.
exactly. You see the
It's
interviewer and the microphone and the camera and all that stuff.
I can totally see both ways working, but the way Over the Top does it is so fucking great that it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
It's a unique, bold choice. I will give it that because you don't see that in other sports movies. That's for sure.
It flips the aesthetic so quickly and goes with it. It doesn't apologize for who it is. I will say it is a little jarring at first, your first initial watch, because it does change like the whole.
It changes the tone quite a bit
Yeah.
because like you said before, like at up to this, so we're at like roughly the halfway mark, right? Up until this point, it's really more of like a family drama, and then all of a sudden, like a switch gets flipped, and we're in full sports action, action movie mode. And I
Did
think
you-
that's part of makes it jarring. Yeah.
Did you mean to say a flip gets switched?
Did
'Cause
I
that's
say a
what
flip
fucking
gets switched?
Stallone says that in this movie
Does he really?
during his fucking interview, dude. Oh my god, I'm an over
Oh
the
my
top
God.
head.
I was
Um,
gonna say, geez, you like have this whole movie committed to memory.
I probably didn't need to watch it this morning, and I would still be able to fucking talk about
Go
this
beat
movie.
for beat. Oh
Yeah.
my- does he really say a flip gets switched?
I will.
Did I really say that? Oh my God.
A switch gets flipped.
A switch gets flipped.
I will tell you. I'll tell you when. So, meanwhile, Michael, he has taken a flight to Las Vegas,
Mm.
and somehow Robert Loggia and his goons are already in Las Vegas. So Michael escapes Loggia compound, gets into a flight, gets to Las Vegas, but somehow Robert Loggia and crew are already there.
So, but like, this is another part where I was like glancing at other stuff. I may have been looking at Reddit on my phone. But like the kid, he like came out of the luggage carousel. Like, did he stow away in the luggage area of the plane, or did he actually buy a plane ticket?
He bought a plane ticket. As he was going down the gangway to get off the plane, he sees Robert Loggia's goons.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is pre 9/11, everyone. So he gets onto the tarmac of the airport and gets into the the
The little luggage train
carousel
thing. Yeah.
thing. And then
Okay.
that's how he escapes.
Okay, gotcha.
Post 9/11, that's like a class A felony or something like that.
That kid would be in handcuffs.
Yeah, pre 9/11, it's just all fun and games.
And
No one
if it
really gives a
goes.
shit. So as they're doing the interviews,
Sports green.
there's a lot of advertisement on people, but Stallone, he's given his little spiel, and he's like, I wear a hat. Throughout the film, he has a hat on, and he's like, when I turn my hat around, it's like a switch gets flipped, and I'm turned on to do the arm wrestling match.
Yeah, I remember exactly the interview you're talking about now. Where he's talking, because that's like the second one that he gives before like the semifinals, where he's talking about his hat. Yep.
And then they immediately go into an arm wrestling match, and Stallone loses. I will say, probably the first time I watched this, I was shocked, because most 80s films, when it comes to like these ending things, especially like sports films, it's always so easy for the hero, but for him to go down so easily in the first round, it's kind of, I guess it's kind of cool, right? It's like Stallone lost, spoilers for Rocky, Stallone doesn't win the boxing match with Apollo Creed. He actually loses. And I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah, it's not something you remember, because you think that in most sports movies, he's down and out, but then manages to come back in the finals and win it.
So as Stallone is walking off, Robert Loggia and gang, they confront Stallone and they bring him up to a penthouse where he has a new deal for Stallone. Essentially, give up Michael, drop out of the tournament right now. I'll give you the money and the truck, and you can just leave. What I don't get is, why does Robert Loggia want Stallone to drop out? Is it because he wants Michael to see his dad as a loser who gives up?
Yeah, that was a little hard to wrap my brain around too. Like I understand the grandpa wanting him to just like keep them separated, but like what's in it for, like, I don't understand the extra motivation to, like, there's a difference between wanting to keep them separate and like actively rooting for him to fail in his private endeavors. Like, that seems like a bridge to, like, he's almost like comic book evil at that point.
Yeah, this is the only thing and like I said, I think the only thing that I can see is that he wants to disillusion Michael.
That's
again.
That's the only explanation, is to just like really frame up how much of a failure and a quitter he is, so that the kid doesn't ever want to go back and like revisit it later. He's playing the long game, I guess.
Exactly. Stallone refuses and he goes back out and he starts arm wrestling. And he gets confronted by, I guess not confronted, he gets a pep talk from Michael about how this is Stallone's moment to go essentially over the top. You're down on the luck. You're one down. It's a double elimination challenge. Stop being a fucking wimp and start knocking dudes down, right?
Man up, Dad.
Man up. I don't think you can say that nowadays.
No, but this is the 80s, so masculine men all the time. Macho power.
And it works for Stallone. You can see that, the belief that his son has in him gives him the strength to go over the top in the movie Over the Top, where you have to go over the top to win these things.
I'm going to be hearing that goddamn line in my dreams.
And
Becky's going to start saying it. I'm like, what did you just fucking say? I'm going to be hearing things, hearing voices.
You're going to say it ironically, to the point to where you're not going to say it ironically ananymore. You know that, right?
We're going to go over the top of irony.
Yeah.
And it's going to be back down into misery.
Exactly.
God damn this movie.
Stallone, he wins all of his matches and he gets up to the bull. And this is obviously the fight that we're waiting for. And you are right.
Final match.
When he's fighting, in quotes, fighting the bull, he does do that arm thing where he does like the reconfiguration, and he starts to, like fight back even harder. It's really hard to describe the action of arm wrestling other than the fact that they go back and forth.
Yeah, see, like, and that's what makes me think that choice to do the little like hand maneuver thing, like, that had to have been like a direction note, because someone early on in the production of this movie probably quickly like realized that, like, wow, arm wrestling is actually really boring. So how can we spice it up? Because otherwise, you're right. How do you visualize it other than, dramatic going back and forth, like, oh, he's almost losing, oh, and he's back, oh, and he's like, it's just back and forth. So they got to do something else to sort of like spice it up visually. That had to have been it.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Because other than that, it looks like they're just trying to pop out massive turds. Like they're just
getting real
a lot of
and
grunting and sweating,
eye bugging.
But eventually Stallone wins, and unsurprisingly, he wins. He gets the money. He gets the truck. He gets holding the girl. Up Mike. He gets his dead wife. He's holding up Michael, and Robert Loggia just looks at both of them and essentially is like,
fuck it.
And all the conflict is gone. It's like Thanos snapped it away. And then we see Stallone and his kid looking at their new truck, and they go over the top.
Oh my God. Movie. So I will give this movie a little bit of credit, even over like a Karate Kid, because at least they didn't end on that freeze frame of Sylvester Stallone holding up his son with the trophy. Like, we got a little bit of a coda where they walk out, the kid realized like, hey, trucking is pretty cool. We should go into business together, and they're going to go on a road trip again. Like we got a little bit of like a, what's next for this happy family. And
Exactly.
at least they didn't do the super cheeseball route where as soon as the bad guy gets defeated, freeze frame, done, credits. We get a little bit extra. I'll give it credit there.
You get a little something, but I mean, like it's an easy breezy, beautiful CoverGirl movie. 4 stars.
Bob says, check it out.
Yep. What do you give it?
So as much as I was ripping on this movie, I gave it a 3.5 for a couple of reasons. One, for
I'll smash you if you don't.
Fucking kill you. Phil's gonna come to my house and beat me up because I'm a little waif of a guy. So it's for 2 things. Like one, it's the reason you said where it's unlike these other movies that like try to, I don't know, like other canon movies where like they're trying to do more. I don't know. I just found it not as annoying because it was so surface level compared to Alan Quartermain and The Lost City of Gold, which it was just annoying to me. But this one was never annoying at all. Like, and it was easy to follow. I wasn't confused. I could look at my phone like an idiot while the movie was playing and not feel like I was missing something. It was very easy to enjoy, intellectually.
It's a Sunday afternoon movie.
Yeah. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is there was just a lot more to, like, from a B movie perspective, there's just a lot more to like latch onto and kind of like rip into in this movie, for me anyway. Like the goofy lines and the overly dramatized arm wrestling and the kid doing unsafe things. I don't know. I just had more fun picking apart the dumb stuff in this movie than I did, Alan Quartermain. So I'll give it a bump for that because it kept me engaged all the way through.
There you go. That's all you can ask from a movie.
Yeah, that's all you can ask for. I mean, so like, Phil, how do you, as an over-the-top apologist, how do you think this stacks up to other sports movies like Karate Kid or like Mighty Ducks and movies like that?
I think Mighty Ducks I definitely have nostalgia for. I really do enjoy the first one.
Yeah.
I think this is definitely within my top 5 sports movies.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky would be number 1. Again, my dad, a big Stallone fan. Yeah. So he introduced me to a lot of this stuff. I think Over the Top would be sitting at number 5, right?
Okay, just cracking the top 5 there.
Yeah, exactly. It's as we said, I don't know too much about a lot of sports. So in order for me to enjoy it, there has to be more in the movie other than just the sport aspect, right? So that's why I like movies like Rocky, because there's a lot of drama with it.
Yeah.
Major League. It's about baseball. I like baseball, but it's the comedy of the movie that really drives forward. And plus, baseball is kind of easy to understand. You hit the fucking ball and you run across bases, right? Mighty Ducks, it's just a goofy comedy with kids. And hockey, I mean, I think everyone likes hockey to some degree. And this one, like we said, there's really only like 3 arm wrestling matches, and arm wrestling is really easy to understand.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, really enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Something that doesn't get too technical in the weeds with it.
You bring up a really good point about sports movies, because I'm not super into any sport. I mean, I've been to live sports matches, games, etc. Like it's when you're there live, it's a lot of fun because the crowd's really into it, and as long as you know enough about the sport, you can have a good time. I don't really watch them on TV though for that reason. But like for sports movies, I feel like that's what you need. There needs to be enough there. For the enough of a description of the sport for the audience to know what's going on, but B, there needs to be other non-sport related stuff going on to keep you engaged in the characters. And I think, there are other movies that definitely do it better, but Over the Top didn't necessarily do it totally badly either.
Exactly. Exactly. There's other movies that do it better. I think it's, especially now as I'm older, having a son of my own, I can see...
Yeah.
The father-son drama definitely hits a little bit different now when I rewatch Over the Top. Before, it was just kind of like the absurdity of it all. Like there's an arm wrestling movie that's also a father and son drama.
Right.
And neither one of them is done poorly, but probably could be done better. Like, if the arm wrestling movie was by its own, it would be shit. And if this was just a father-son drama of Sylvester Stallone driving a big rig across the country to bond with his kid, it would be shit. There's not enough in either one of them to really make a whole movie.
Yep, and I think that's why that halfway mark where it suddenly flips from family drama to sports movie, I think that's why that was so jarring, because it really feels like that was like two half movies just sort of like glued together in the middle.
You got father-son drama in my sports movie. You got sports movie. Father-son drama.
Exactly. I think that's probably the biggest complaint I had about this is I think in a lot of those other like the Mighty Duckses and the Little Giantses, like the movies that I'm more familiar with from the 90s, I think all of those elements were more evenly mixed throughout the whole movie. And so as far as I'm concerned, probably my favorite sports movie of all time is Cool Runnings.
Oh, you know what? That's definitely a good one.
Right?
Cool Runnings, I often forget about. I don't know why, because it is a good movie.
I don't know why. I watch this movie probably like once a year. I never go back to any of like Mighty Ducks, and like I'll occasionally watch those, but I rarely will go back and repeat view movies from this genre. But Cool Runnings I will watch anytime it's on. I mean, whenever it was on cable, I would watch it, pick it up halfway through or whatever. But I've actually had noticed myself going specifically to Disney Plus to boot this movie up on a pretty regular basis, and I think that's a testament to just how, like, I don't know, I'm not like a super bobsled enthusiast, but it's a funny comedy with
I don't think
motivational sports elements to it.
Phrase has ever been said before in the history of phrases. Bobsled enthusiast.
I mean, I'm sure bobsledders say it on a somewhat regular basis, but normal assholes like me probably not so
bobsled. Oh man,
feel the rhythm,
that's funny.
Feel the rhyme.
Come on,
it's bobsled
time. Yeah,
Cool
that was
Runnings.
It was what's that guy's name? Dougie Doug.
Whatever
the fuck happened to that guy? He was so big. We're getting way off topic here. But
no,
he
man.
was so big in the early 90s for like these as being like the goofy guy in movies.
Who played the main guy? He played Sanka. Who was I don't remember the main character's name for as often as I watch it. Leon.
Darius Bannock.
Bannock,
again,
yes.
He was a guy who was really popular too in the early 90s. Yeah. He was in that Madonna music video, Like a Prayer. He was he looked like, I think he was Jesus in it, which I think caused a lot of controversy. And he was also in the TV show Oz early on in the series. And then he kind of just disappeared, and I don't get it. He was such a good actor.
I don't know. All of the actors in that movie were great. The dweeby guy, the rich kid, he was great. There was that like intimidating guy who ends up being a big softie at the end, like
Yul Brynner. His name was fucking Yul Brynner.
Yul Brynner, fuck yeah. And I mean, obviously John Candy is fantastic. Like everyone in that movie is awesome. Man, I'm just gonna fuck over the top. I'm gonna go watch Cool Runnings now.
It's such an interesting. That was like one of his last films, John Candy.
Before he died, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and it was just kind of interesting because while it was comedic, there was like kind of, I guess, quote unquote, serious moments in the movie. And I think, again, that's why it makes it work. A whole movie about fucking bobsleds is probably boring, but the drama that was behind everything,
like
kind
the
of
anti-cheating
helps it
message. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The drama and the comedy bolsters what is otherwise, like a movie about bobsledding, like a Winter Olympic sport that most people don't give a shit about. Like, yeah, all those elements come together. And something you just said gave me an idea. Like, I feel like that's what Over the Top might have been missing, is that, like, that sage, that coach character that's sort of in the mix there. That's like, what's the right way to describe it? Like someone who maybe taught Sylvester Stallone to arm wrestle. And I don't know. I feel like we needed that element. You always need that in a sports movie. The Mr. Miyagi character.
Yeah. If Stallone had a Mr. Miyagi or a Mickey in it, where he's kind of coaxing Stallone to be a better father and
exactly
100%. Giving
100%.
some life lessons along the way.
He's coaching him as an arm wrestler and as a father.
Yeah.
100%. That would have made the movie better. Who would you cast as the arm wrestling coach.
Oh man,
Over the Top.
I got John Candy on the mind now, and that wouldn't work.
Fucking, I was just thinking like Pat Morita, put him in here too.
You could probably get away with some little stunt casting, right? Because again, this movie was predominantly white people, so
Carl Weathers.
I would assume that this movie, if there was a father-like, sage-like figure, it would be a person of color, because that's usually what they're relegated to in the 80s. So maybe someone like a Carl Weathers, because you could always do the whole, you got like a Rocky
Carl
joke
Weathers.
in there.
Danny Glover was probably still pretty big then.
Exactly. Who played, I always forget his name. He played Duke in Predator.
Oh my God, what is his name? He was in Commando briefly too.
Yeah, I can never fucking remember his name.
He's
Bill Duke.
Bill Duke.
Bill
yeah,
Duke.
yeah.
His name was Mac. Bill Duke, because he kind of looks older, so that could work too.
He's got a great voice too. That would
Yeah.
Where he kind of seems like he's like a no funny business kind of serious tough dude on the outside, but I could see him like opening up and having like a sensitive side, as like giving him that fatherly advice. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Oh man. So in the remake of Over the Top, maybe we'll get that character, but
Oh man, never remake Over the Top. You can never do it. And you know why you can never do it?
why is that?
Because of these YouTube comments right here saying so. That's
Oh,
right.
boy.
We watched this movie on YouTube. So you know what that means. There's fucking YouTube comments. There's 7,995 of them. As
Oh
an
my
80s
God.
baby, it was these kinds of movies that helped me become the father I am today.
Aw,
Hand emoji, hand emoji.
hand emoji. What? They're
Like the
What
prayer
hand
hand
emoji?
emoji.
oh, like the hands up emoji.
Yeah, something like that. Mrs. Bada Bing says, this just shows you young boys need their fathers in their lives and to support them in every way and love them for whoever he is. Deep
Is that
and
like-
insightful.
Is that like a veiled anti same-sex marriage thing?
I have no idea. And then we get fucking comments like this. I was around 7 when my dad took me to see this movie. Cancer took my dad away too soon. I miss
Aw.
you so much, Dad. Crying
That's sad.
sad emoji. I know you're rejoicing in the heavens above till we meet again. Prayer hand emojis.
Man, it's always funny to hear about like movies like Over the Top. Like people have like strange emotional connections to really specific, unexpected things and unexpected movies. I'm sure. Yeah, no exception to that.
Candace says you can learn every life lesson through Sylvester Stallone movies.
What?
Hand clap emoji. 80s and 90s movies made
Oh my
the best
God.
movies.
I can see that quote come from you. You and your dad being such big Sylvester Stallone fans.
If you can't listen,
learn
if you
everything
can't learn
you
it from
know.
Stallone, get it the fuck out of here.
If you can't learn it from Sly, you can't learn it.
Oh man, yeah. I think it's the anonymity of YouTube comments for certain people that allow them to write what they're truly feeling. Because there's no way that I would ever put on here like, oh yeah, my dad who died, we watched Over the Top. You're like, I don't know.
It's a little much.
It is.
I'm gonna go
It
put a comment on
is.
there. 0 out of 10. No one wore seatbelts. Would not watch.
It's so insane. It's so insane. Oh man. Well, what other movies have you been watching, Greg?
What other movies about? So, Phil, I know you and I both saw the Criterion sale at Barnes and Noble that happened pretty recently.
Yes.
So I didn't partake this time, but I did take the opportunity to watch some of the Criterion Blu-rays that I haven't watched yet. So I watched 2. I watched Stalker, the first one, the Andrei Tarkovsky sci-fi classic.
Nice.
I hadn't seen it in a while. I watched it in college a while back. It's one of those like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like really artsy kind of sci-fi movies. It's very slow. There's lots of really long shots. It's very like metaphorical and philosophical, but like the visuals are really striking, and it just holds on these long, slow shots for super long time. So you really like you're like picking apart the visuals and looking all over the screen and really like immersing in it. It's one of those movies that's really not for everyone. Like you would read a synopsis and the plot is very thin in the actual movie compared to the book, but anyone who's like a really big sci-fi fan or likes, old like Soviet era sci-fi, which is its own kind of flavor, definitely check it out. It's a classic for a reason. So I'm really glad I watched it again. It looked fantastic on the Blu-ray. And speaking of all things that the opposite end of that spectrum, I also watched the new Pink Flamingos release from Criterion, which
how was that?
it is fucking awesome. I love this movie so much. Another one I hadn't seen since college, probably. So it's just as bonkers and funny and crude as I remember it being. Again, it also looks fantastic. The Blu-ray transfer looks really good. Like, Phil, you can really see the detail in that guy's butthole when they do the singing butthole scene.
I find it interesting that you're a John Waters fan. Again, the depths of Greg.
The Greg Onion.
Yeah.
Just keep peeling, yeah.
Have you watched a lot of his other films?
And I haven't. This is really the only one that I've seen all the way through. I've seen clips from other ones just from watching, like, movie YouTubers talk about his stuff, but seeing this one again really makes me want to go through his filmography and see all of it. Like, it's just so weird and unique. And speaking of, like, long takes, like, some of the rants that the crazy characters in these movies go on, it must have taken so much rehearsal. Just like the whole package, it's just such a strange combination of factors that you just can't look away. And I mean, Divine as like the actress, like, it's such a great character, and I want to see more of it. So I might go watch the other stuff in his filmography now.
Watch the preview for the movie Pecker, starring Edward Furlong, who was John Connor in Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Just the amount of times that they're able to say Pecker in a trailer.
It's
pretty funny.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, pretty funny.
But yeah, it's too great. I'm so pleased that movies as diverse, as different from each other as Stalker and Pink Flamingos are from each other, that they both can find a common home in the Criterion Collection.
That does speak echoes for the Criterion Collection of
yes,
just what you get from it.
People of culture and taste, clearly.
Yes.
What else? What have you been watching recently, Phil?
So I watched Miami Connection on Friday, a Vinegar Syndrome release.
Hey, yeah.
I've had that fucking song stuck in the back of my head for the entire weekend now. About
the Dragon Sound song, the one song.
Yeah, it's so insane. It's a fun movie. You can definitely tell that it was a passion project, that there was so much passion in it, they forgot to write a cohesive story in certain parts, but there's enough in it to make it enjoyable.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend it. I watched Django, not Django Unchained. I watched the Arrow Video 4K release for Django, the 1966 Franco Nero film. This was a first-time watch for me. Have you ever seen this?
I haven't. I knew that Arrow did a release of that, though. I was wondering if that's what you were going to say. Was it good?
Holy shit, is this movie a fucking banger.
Oh.
The 4K looks amazing. And I mean, I won't give anything away.
Mm-hmm.
You just watch it. It's awesome. It's so good.
I've watched so few Westerns, but yeah.
The only negative that I can give for it is because it's a spaghetti Western, it's dubbed, and the guy that they got to do the voice for Franco Nero doesn't match the look of Franco Nero.
Oh. You can always tell, too.
Yeah, so it's kind of wonky in that one, but total banger.
Awesome.
But the one I'll get into is another Vinegar Syndrome release called Thriller, A Cruel Picture. Now, this was part of their halfway to Black Friday sale.
Mm-hmm.
And like this one already sold out on Vinegar Syndrome, like the box set that they came out with.
Oh, really?
Right? So you can buy both movies in the box set. So in the box set, there's Thriller, A Cruel Picture, and then there's the re-edited version of it called called something like The Lady with One Eye or something like that.
How old is the movie? When was it originally shot?
1973.
Okay.
So the movie is about a woman who gets kidnapped, hooked on heroin, and becomes a prostitute, and then she gets her revenge for it. Right?
Ah.
The full-length movie is about an hour and 40 minutes. Now, Greg, the beginning of it was pretty good. A lot of good setup. It looks very nice.
It's
And
got
then
that
it gets to
70s
the
grime to it.
exactly. And then they get to the point where she becomes a prostitute and she gets hooked on heroin. And I didn't know this buying the film. You know how we always talk and joke, and Always Sunny does it too, where it's like, and then you see it. Full insertion.
Oh no, did this turn
Greg,
into like hardcore porn?
it turned into hardcore porn. And not just one scene of it too. So there was like this middle part of the film where our heroine is training to get revenge, but also she's still performing as a prostitute. And you see everything to the point to where
Oh my gosh.
it's a little too much.
Yeah, I guess you cross that threshold of for like, oh, it's like graphic intercourse for shock value as opposed to like romance, but it sounds like it went beyond that point.
It went beyond romance. You're seeing full everything. And then they
Oh my
also
God.
show climax.
They got the freaking money shot in this
They
movie, and it's not
did.
actual porn.
And it's not. And they do it
Weird.
in multiple positions in different ways, and they show it all.
Was this?
They show it all. And I read about it after the movie, and I was like, there's no way that this actress did this. There's no way. Because they didn't show her face during these scenes, but the body was
okay.
kind of similar.
I think they got
and
a
then
body double.
I read about it. They have a body double, and I guess that was the whole point of it, was to shock people when they saw this. So it's a Swedish film, and I guess graphic sex and nudity was becoming more mainstream in Sweden, so they wanted to pump their movie up a little bit. So they filmed these insertion shots, no pun intended, into the film to give it a little more pizzazz.
It gave it that, I guess.
In my opinion, it took away from the film drastically.
I can see that like really ripping you out of the movie, just for the sheer discomfort of it. Because I mean, you go into it not expecting to watch hardcore porn, and when you get that, a lot of it, yeah, I can see that kind of ruining things.
At first, I was like, okay, it's foreign. I'm over it, because maybe this is just what they did in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just kept going. And then, especially when they started doing other sexual acts, I was like, okay, this is a line beyond what I would say, like, I can forgive because it's a foreign film.
Now I feel like I'm just watching hardcore porn on my living room television.
I was in the living room too. And I was just, I had the fucking PlayStation 5 remote next to me, ready to turn it off in case T came into the room or anything like that.
I was going to say, like, is that the time where your wife walks back, but, she's been out and comes back, hey, what are you watching? Oh my God.
I didn't even think about that. Like, if she came home and she's like, what are you watching? And I'm like,
don't ask.
I literally have no explanation for this. So sit down and let me try to do it. Right?
Oh my gosh.
It was definitely interesting. I gave it a 2.5 because there was stuff around those parts that were good. I am very interested in seeing the cut version of it, which drops it down to an 84-minute movie.
And do you think that was just axing all the hardcore sex scenes, or most of them anyway?
It axes all the hardcore sex scenes, and I think it axes a lot of the, I guess you could call it fluff, essentially stuff to get it closer to the action and like get it faster there, right? So I'll be very interested in seeing it. I plan on watching it with Jackie, just so I can get her fresh take on it, because I'm already tainted by what I've seen.
You're tainted by the taints that you were seeing.
Yeah, dude. Again, yeah. Like, I'll bleep this part out. But Greg, when I woke up this morning, I did not expect to see some girl's butthole in watching this movie.
So it's funny. That's coming from talking about pink flamingos to that. Like, there's a lot of nudity in Pink Flamingos as well, but it's not pornographic. It's just sort of weird and goofy and played for laughs. It's a whole different ballgame when you cross that territory into, okay, now it's just like porno exploitation. You know what I mean? Yeah. It becomes just uncomfortable. I mean, and again, maybe it sounds like that was their intent all along, is to just sort of like shock and make the audience uncomfortable. And points for succeeding there, I guess. But it's not my cup of tea.
Exactly, and that's why I asked you, and now I'm warning you and telling you this is not the movie. I'll watch the edited version, and you can borrow that, but you do not want to see the uncut version.
Thanks for taking that bullet for me, Phil.
Yep.
That cinematic bullet.
Well, speaking of sex, the next episode is number 69.
Ew.
And what better way to celebrate 69 than going back to a movie that we finally found? We're going to watch Link, the Elizabeth Shue, Terrence Stamp horror movie about a chimpanzee named Link. Now, this is a monkey movie. Did we have this conversation before?
I don't know if we did on the podcast. What does and does not constitute a monkey movie as a subgenre?
Movies that have monkeys in them, not a monkey movie. A movie about monkeys.
Monkey movie.
Monkey movie.
Did we determine where Planet of the Apes falls on that? That's got to be a monkey movie, right? But they're not real monkeys. They're genetically altered sci-fi monkeys.
I'll say that the recent remakes, monkey movies, the ones from the 70s and 80s, I don't know what the fuck they are. I can't say that they're monkey movies. While they have monkey-like qualities to them, they're too humanoid in order to be considered monkeys.
And what was up with all like the hardcore pornography in the first Planet of the Apes movie?
Just all the
penetration.
All this monkey penetration. So we're gonna watch the movie Link when a female zoology student is invited to a remote seaside mansion to assist a primatology professor with his experiments involving chimpanzees. Dangerous events start to occur, all involving the intelligent 45-year-old chimp, Link. 45-year-old chimp.
I'm excited for this. And speaking of all of the Karate Kid references, Elizabeth Shue is in this. Awesome.
Elizabeth Shue. So, again, we'll get into it when we watch this. But, man, oh man, Elizabeth Shue. She is the better Jennifer in Back to the Future. And she got the shaft
100%. Yep. Love everything Elizabeth Shue is in. Yeah, we'll gush about our respective crushes on Elizabeth Shue in the next episode. But love to see her in anything she's in. She's always good.
Definitely. Most definitely. So yeah, Link is the next film. Do you have anything else?
I'm good. Let's wrap it up.
All right. Well, if you like what you're hearing, go ahead, like, subscribe, comment anywhere you can. You can find us on all the major podcasting networks. And go ahead and go to youtube.com/thatscanon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're always putting great quality content out there, especially if you're Mom's family fan. Apparently, people really love those videos.
Hell yeah.
And you can also email us at thatscanon@gmail.com. That's right. The email is thatscanon@gmail.com. And remember, since we said it,
that's canon.